So, okay, I've now received my lovely new engine from you guys. Obviously, there's a few things that I need to check with my vehicle before installation. What should I be looking for, Adrian?
Right, there's quite a few. Start on the basics.
Okay.
First one, you've got your new engine, you've got all the ancillary parts from the old engine, wash and clean all of them.
Just to what, get a good inspection?
Yeah, a really good inspection. Once it's washed and cleaned, you can work with it, you're getting no debris on the new engine, and you can check all the components out, make sure they are actually operating and functioning.
And good
for
service.
At that point, anything that's not needs to be replaced or repaired.
That makes total sense.
Second one then, carburation. Make sure your carburetor is working and functioning correctly, that all the jetting is set up, that when you actually fit it, you've got the mixture set up correctly. Inlet manifold, fit the new rubbers, they're supplied in the kit.
So they're quite important, I think, aren't they?
They're very important. The old ones have had fuel and air going through them for a number of years and tens of thousands of miles. They go hard and they split and they crack.
So they may have been all right before I sent my engine off to you, but then on
Yes.
the refit, I could damage them without knowing.
Yes, and by moving them off the old engine,
Yeah.
when they were sitting okay, they then flex and they crack.
So that's a definite change.
Definite change there. Distributor,
Yep.
make sure that your distributor is working and functioning properly. If it's a centrifugal type, it's a different timing setting to a vacuum controlled unit.
Okay.
Vacuum controlled unit, make sure that you've got a good advanced curve and it's retarding.
Yep.
So it is fully operational right the way through. If it's electronic ignition, that's fine. If it's points and condenser, change the points and condenser for peace of mind.
Yeah.
And make sure you get the right point clearance gap setting.
So we're starting with a nice fresh ignition with
Yes.
our fresh engine.
Yes.
Okay, so what about the fan belt? Should I be changing the fan
Fan
belt?
belt, it's a must. You should always change the fan belt. They aren't all that expensive. And fit a decent fan belt, which is a V-belt, preferably with ribs as well, because it doesn't take so much tension on the whole system there.
Okay.
And it runs smoother and runs better.
Okay.
Then the fan is then driving the alternator or dynamo, which is driving the cooling fan itself.
Which is probably the most important part of these air-cooled engines,
Yes,
right?
yeah. So the cooling fan, make sure you undo the gland nut union here
Yep.
and take it apart, because I have seen them where the fan hub center cracks and breaks and spins.
Right.
Engine's running, it's driving the alternator. That's putting your red light up, but your fan's not turning to cool the engine.
Really? Wow, okay. And carrying on with the air-cooled side of it, so our tinware, how important is our tinware?
Absolutely vital.
Okay.
The tinware all needs to be there. It needs to be functioning correctly. No holes, no damage. The way it sits on the engine, how it all bolts down. It's all about the whole package of cooling an engine with air
Yeah.
and the volume and under a certain amount of flow
Yeah.
to cool everything around it.
Okay, and what about my rubber strip that goes around the outside? Could I use my old one?
You can if it's in good condition. Rubber on the early versions, foam on the late versions.
Okay.
Again, you need to make sure it is all set correctly and that it is set in place through all the grooves or glued where necessary.
Yeah.
Also a little tip, don't have the join at the back where the fan is. If one end comes loose, get sucked in the fan.
Wow, that could be devastating.
Yeah, totally devastating.
So am I right in saying that this is similar to having a water-cooled system with a leak? Say, for instance, if I
Yes.
had a hole in my radiator,
Yes.
it's the same amount of devastation as
It is.
having a hole in your tinware
Yeah.
and the seal.
Yeah, all the way through. To go back onto the fan and the cooling,
Yeah.
obviously you've got your new engine,
Yeah.
you're checking it, you dip the oil, you put the rag in the engine
Yeah.
bay to dip it again later.
Yeah.
No.
Not a good idea.
You should not do that. Once you've closed the engine lid, it's a vacuum controlled area.
It's
to a
drawing all
certain
that air
volume. It draws air. It's going to suck any debris, paper, rag or anything straight into the back of the fan, again destroying the engine.
And then we're in trouble again.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. That's a very good point, actually, because it's probably very easy to do, isn't it? Dip your rag and leave it in there for later.
Yeah, I've seen it done. I've seen people do it.
And what about our air filter? Is it a good idea for me to use my original air filter, or should I be putting a new one on?
I would say for what the cost is, fit a brand new air filter.
Yeah.
Whether it's a pancake one, as in this, or a paper element one, they're readily available from all the suppliers. You can buy them easy. It's only a matter of £3 to change the item.
Yeah, so it would be foolhardy not
Yes,
to.
definitely.
So I think that covers pretty much everything for our air-cooled. How much different is the water-cooled stuff, for instance?
Water-cooled, same system applies with carburation, distributor, etc. But now you're on all the cooling system. On the early version, they had metal flange fittings on them. On the later version, they were a hard plastic type.
Okay.
They crack, they distort, they don't seal properly.
And that's just from age and fatigue that
Yes.
happens. So that's a must to check, or possibly just replace anyway.
Must check that. I'd recommend always changing the thermostat.
Yeah.
Even if you have changed one previously, fit a new
Put a fresh
thermostat
one.
in the system.
Okay.
Then we're on the coolant pipes. all of the hoses running right around the engine area, all need to be checked out carefully to make sure they're not split, cracked, and they're all going to work and seal.
So what about my coolant pipes that are going from the engine all the way up to the front of the vehicle?
That one is really special. They were originally metal with Volkswagen and they rotted, so they then changed them to plastic.
Perfect.
But they fitted metal inserts in the ends so they didn't crash when you put the hoses on.
Right.
Now the metal inserts rot, expand, pop the collars inside. All this is done underneath the water hose, so you can't see it. So the hose is over the pipe.
Actually covered it.
So you must, it is a must. You must take all 4 joints off, put them away and examine the fittings. You'll see straight away if they're cracked or broken. If they're broken, there's stainless steel aftermarket versions available. You need to change them.
Which is a good upgrade, obviously.
Yes.
And obviously that being the lowest point of our cooling system, we would probably lose the entire contents of our cooling system.
Very quickly.
So that would render the engine useless fairly quickly.
Yes, within minutes.
And what about our radiator at the front end?
The radiator, again, needs checking thoroughly. Check it when it's running, make sure that it is warm over the entire area of the radiator. But first, before you fit it, give it a good flush out.
Right.
Make sure there's no sediment and muck in the bottom. There's also an aftermarket lower temperature radiator fan switch, which allows the engine, the fan to cut in slightly earlier.
So that would give you a little bit more coverage on cooling a little bit earlier?
It will, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Then there's the fan itself. Make sure that the fan isn't obstructed and it can spin freely in the housing.
Yeah, sure.
It's a 2-speed fan on some models. If it is, make sure both the speeds are working.
Yeah, make sure both of those are functioning, not just the low speed.
That's it, yeah. And then we have, on the later version, underneath the engine bay, we have the wraparound pipe, which is either metal or plastic.
Okay.
With, I think, 6 outlets off it.
Wow.
You must make sure they're all clear, otherwise it'll airlock.
Yeah.
And you can't bleed the cooling system.
And you won't get that flow of coolant, I take it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And then you're in trouble again with overheating and possible damage to whatever on that engine, on that brand.
And again, with coolant, correct antifreeze mix.
Yeah. And why is that important, Adrian?
So it stops it from rust inhibition inside the engine.
Okay.
So you don't get any extra corrosion on the engine itself and in the cooling system.
Which I guess is probably one of the biggest pitfalls of these engines, isn't it?
Yes.
The incorrect or not enough content of antifreeze or anti-corrosion in it
You've got it there.
to rot them from the inside outwards.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. But I think that just about covers it for fitting of my engine.
I think that's it. A couple more bits on the water boxer.
Yeah.
Is internal on some of the versions. Underneath the rear seat, there an additional heater.
Of course they do.
Make sure that's not leaking.
Another prime position for leak.
Because it has to have the whole system to flow through it.
So that's
to
got
circulate properly.
Yeah, that's got in that system has to flow through as well.
Yes,
it's not just an outlet.
If it's turned on, it has to flow through.
Right. So I think that just about covers everything we need to know when fitting our brand new engine, whether it be an air-cooled or a water-cooled. So firstly, I'd like to thank you again, Adrian, for your time and obviously your wealth of knowledge and experience within this field. Absolutely superb. So if you want to find out any more information on these engines, please click the link below and that will give you all the info you need. Thank you very much for watching and we'll catch you next time.